Okay, so here's something to think about. Every unfulfilled desire you have isn't just a wish waiting to come true. It's a diagnostic tool. It's showing you exactly where you're out of alignment with the life you want.
That's such an interesting way to frame it. It's not just about wanting something and waiting for it to show up, but actually using that gap as a way to figure out what's going on internally. So where do we even start with something like that?
Well, it starts with understanding that manifestation isn't this magical outside-in process where you just visualize something and it appears. It's an inside-out process. You have to become the energetic equivalent of what you want. And that's where alignment comes in. Aligning your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions with your vision.
Right? And that's where the idea of you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are really comes into play. It's not about chasing something external, but about embodying it internally. But what does that actually look like in practice?
It looks like coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, identity, and actions are all pointing in the same direction, you're in alignment. But when they're not, when you're saying you want abundance, but deep down you believe money is scarce, or when you're visualizing success, but your nervous system is braced for failure, you're creating static. And that static is what keeps you stuck.
So it's like you're broadcasting a fragmented signal, and the universe, or really your own behavior and decisions, can't respond clearly. That makes so much sense. But how do you even begin to untangle all of that static?
You start by breaking it down into the 4 layers of alignment: cognitive, emotional, identity, and action. Each one plays a role, and if even one is out of sync, it can throw off the whole process. Let's start with cognitive alignment, which is all about your beliefs. If you say you want something, but you don't actually believe it's possible or that you deserve it, that belief is going to block you.
And what's tricky about beliefs is that so many of them are subconscious. You might not even realize you're carrying around these limiting ideas about what's possible for you. So how do you even identify those beliefs?
That's where self-awareness comes in. You have to get really honest with yourself and start questioning the stories you tell yourself about the world and your place in it. For example, if you believe that successful people are morally compromised, that belief is going to sabotage your efforts to become successful because deep down, you don't want to be that person.
Oh, that's such a good example. It's like your beliefs are running in the background, shaping your decisions and actions without you even realizing it. And until you bring them to the surface, they're just going to keep holding you back.
Exactly. And once you've addressed your beliefs, the next layer is emotional alignment. This one is all about the feeling state you habitually inhabit. If you're constantly in a state of wanting, that feeling of lack is what you're broadcasting. And that's what you're going to attract more of, lack.
That's such a catch-22, isn't it? Because when you want something, it's natural to feel like you don't have it. But that feeling is exactly what keeps it out of reach. So how do you shift out of that state of lack?
You have to practice accessing the feeling state of already having it. It's not about pretending or faking it. It's about genuinely tapping into that state of being. Ask yourself, how would I feel if I already had this? How would I move through my day? What would my energy be like? And then start embodying that.
And that's not easy, especially if you've been stuck in a pattern of lack or scarcity for a long time. It's like you're rewiring your emotional baseline, and that takes time and effort.
It really does. And that brings us to the 3rd layer, identity alignment. This one might be the most powerful because your identity shapes everything. It's like the lens through which you experience the world. If you don't see yourself as the kind of person who has what you want, it's going to be almost impossible to create it.
Right? Because your identity is self-reinforcing. You act in ways that are consistent with who you believe you are. And those actions create results that confirm your identity. So if you want to change your reality, you have to start by changing your identity.
Exactly. And that's where identity adoption comes in. It's about stepping into the identity of the person you want to become. If you want to be someone who's successful, you have to start thinking, feeling, and acting like a successful person now, not someday, but right now.
And that's such a powerful shift because it changes the way you approach everything. You're no longer chasing success or abundance or whatever it is you want. You're embodying it. You're becoming it.
And when you do that, your behavior naturally shifts, which brings us to the fourth layer, action alignment. This one's pretty straightforward. It's about making sure your actions are consistent with your vision. Because let's be real, manifestation without action is just fantasy.
Totally. And I think the key here is that aligned action is different from desperate action. When you're in alignment, your actions flow naturally. You're not scrambling or grasping. You're moving with intention and clarity.
And that's such an important distinction because so many people confuse busyness with progress. They think that as long as they're doing something, they're moving forward. But if your actions aren't aligned with your vision, you're just spinning your wheels.
Exactly. And that's why diagnosing the gap between wanting and having is so crucial. Every unmanifested desire is basically a diagnostic tool. It's showing you where you're out of alignment, whether it's in your beliefs, your emotions, your identity, or your actions.
And once you identify the gap, that's where the real work begins. It's not about doing more visualizations or saying more affirmations. It's about addressing the incoherence and closing the gap.
And that's where the shift from wanting to becoming comes in. It's such a subtle but profound pivot. Instead of grasping for what you want, you step into the state of being that corresponds to already having it.
And that shift is so powerful because it changes everything. Your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. It's like you're no longer operating from a place of lack. You're operating from a place of abundance and confidence and trust.
And that's when things start to happen. Because when you're in alignment, your outer reality begins to mirror your inner state. It's not magic. It's coherence.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this whole framework so empowering. It's not about hoping or wishing or waiting for something external to change. It's about taking responsibility for your own energy and using it intentionally.
And that's the real discipline, isn't it? Energetic alignment isn't something you do once and then forget about. It's a daily practice. It's about paying attention to your inner state, noticing when you've drifted out of alignment and consciously bringing yourself back.
And that's not always easy. It takes effort and awareness and a willingness to confront the parts of yourself that are out of sync with your vision. But it's so worth it because every time you realign, you're building momentum. You're creating a new baseline where coherence becomes your default state.
And that's when the gap between wanting and having starts to close. Because you're no longer chasing reality, you're attracting it. You're becoming it.
And it all starts with being. That's the mantra, right? You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. It's such a simple truth, but it's so profound.
It really is. And I think the 60-second micro application at the end is such a great way to start practicing this. Just taking a moment to ask yourself, what kind of person already has this? How do they think, feel, and move through their day? And then stepping into that identity, even for just a few minutes.
It's such a small shift, but it can be so powerful. Because it's not about waiting for something external to change. It's about changing your internal state and trusting that everything else will follow.
And that trust, that willingness to let go of grasping and step into being, that's where the magic happens. Or should I say the coherence?
Absolutely. It's not magic. It's alignment. And it's available to all of us if we're willing to do the work.